All right, sorry. So yeah, the pieces are the desktop, the service, access, access it through a mobile device, and Power BI gateways. So with the tool, with the Pro version, there's what's called a gateway service. It's just a simple program you install on one of your servers in your environment, and that's the tool that acts as the bridge essentially to transport the data from your network or your own environment up to the cloud. So if and when you get using it, it happens behind the scenes and it does the synchronization for you. Just so you're aware, Power BI, in my opinion, is a fairly affordable tool if you're keeping it to a small subset of people. If you expand it organization-wide, things like that can add up. But there essentially are 3 versions of the tool. There's the free version, which so anyone can basically go and download the Power BI desktop, create their own report, upload it to the Power BI service, and you can play around with it, create your own reports, and use it for yourself internally. When you want to start creating reports that you want to share with other people, or if you want to start having the report data automatically synchronized and you not have to do it in a manual effort, then you'd want to go towards the Power BI Pro product. And that one is $12.20 per user per month. So it's pretty easy to get into, and if you want to try it as well, they have a 60-day free trial period as well. So you can, if you want to install it, you can do that. And for the larger organizations, there are Power BI Premium, which essentially in those cases, that's where you take the whole application that I'll be presenting that's cloud-based, and it's a local installation in your own network environment. So if you have very sensitive data or maybe just significant amounts of data that you don't want to be transporting back and forth using the Power BI gateway, then the Power BI Premium would likely be a better solution for you. So what do you need to get started? So I'm going to actually walk through going and creating your own report, but some of the key elements that if you want to create your own report, the first things that you need to be able to do is you need to know where your GP data is. There's other ways to pull data out, but it's good, good information to have if you know what your GP server name is and if you have access to your data directly. The reason I say that is if you're running Dynamics GP and you see your data through the GP application, that might not mean you have direct access to the data because GP acts as its own method to communicate to the data. So if you can run Excel reports, or if you're running SSRS reports, chances are you already have the security set up to do these. So those are two key things that would have already had the security set up for you to do that. And then install the Power BI desktop application. I'll show you where it is. It's pretty easy to get to, but and it's a pretty small install. Some of the resources for your information when you want to come back, if you want to grab some, find some information out about Power BI. I listed some different links here that are useful. One thing that I have on the bottom here is a Power BI user group. One of our attendees, Brad, raise your hand, Brad. Brad is he is the, what do you call yourself? Brad is the organizer of the Power BI user group in Edmonton, and he's actually having a Power BI user group meeting tonight. It's a new group, so if you are at all interested in Power BI and you want to get information from their user group, I strongly suggest you talk to Brad, or you can take a look at the meeting website or the community website that has all the information about where and when their meetings are. But Brad has also been kind enough to give me one of the dashboards that we're going to look at today. So I'm just going to jump in and do a demo. So my goal of the demo is to create a dashboard for you guys. Actually, I'm going to show you what Power BI looks like first, and then we'll create some dashboards. So just give me a moment here. So to get to Power BI, it's simple. You just go to app.powerbi.com, or you just Google Power BI and it'll take you to the website and you can log in. And once you get logged into the tool set, this is essentially what it looks like. Many of you guys might have seen some of this already when I did it last year, but it's a tool set for slicing and dicing your data. Right off at the top, I have a dashboard that lists some information right off of my general ledger. So I just took from the sample company, I just took general ledger data. It's one of your Excel reports that you have, and just uploaded it to Power BI. And I'm slicing essentially revenue accounts. So I'm taking all of our revenue accounts. So what we see here are these different categories of revenue accounts. And then in the bottom area, I have the account or the customers that make up that information. So the nice thing that I find that's pretty neat about it is if you click on one cell or one piece of the chart, all of the other charts that you have on the same page are going to be interacting, and they're going to reflect how you're navigating the data. So so that's an example of one of the charts that I just threw together. If any of these charts if you want to get into Power BI and you want any of these charts that I show you, I'm happy to provide those to you. Might need a little bit of time just to get it linked up for you, but I'm happy to share these with you guys. With GP 2018, I'm just going to jump into a area here. With GP 2018, they have a GP content pack. So what this means is that all of the data connections have already been done for you in advance. It's pretty hard to see the words on here. Gord, do you have any thoughts on maybe I'll just zoom in a bit more. Just hold on a second. Well, I'll have to talk to what I'm showing because I'm having some challenges showing that on the monitor. It's not showing the actual data elements.
There's like a full page view up on the top right. It's where the study lists this on that chart. It's just that one specific.
Oh yeah, I gotta move this over.
I'm trying to show them. If you just want to see one, if you go to the top.
Oh, there. Okay, that's what you're talking about. Good point. Thank you. There you go, Brad. So, yeah. So this content pack that I'm showing you has different. It pulls financial data, sales data, purchasing data, and inventory data, and it gives you a bunch of charts that you can start off with and play around with that work with GP 2018. So basically all you need to do is configure, if you have GP 2018 installed and you've configured the OData component of it, then you can install this template and link it up to your data and play around with it and use it as a starting point. But so what you see here is we see net income by year. I can click on the different sections of net income and it shows me a graph. This other graph that you see here is year over year. So how does the sales compare to my total net income? And then what we see in the bottom area is my admin expenses year over year and what makes up those admin expenses. So if I wanted to drill into my admin expenses or show the data on my admin expenses, I can click on that cell and it expands the graph and shows me the actual details of what makes up those numbers. So that's the financial report. Sales report is that comes with it is nice graphical view of where your sales are. So these graphical elements or these elements are nice visuals that show for these different salespeople. So I have my salespeople on the right where their sales are in the North America in this case, and also the size of the circle indicates how many sales they have. So if the bigger the circle, the more the sales are. So in this case, when I clicked on it or hover over it, you can see the total amount. This one too, if you click on different salespeople, as you click on those different salespeople, the map will move around to who you have selected. And the way these charts work, you'll see their portion. So the portion that's darker colored is their portion of the overall sales of each of those items that they're selling. If I wanted to just break it down to one specific year, currently we have a slicer set up here for year over year. So let's say I just want to look at 2028 data. I would click on 2028, and this is sample data, so it's fictional times. But anyways, now I've broken out all of the reports by just 1 year. So as you can see, it's very easy to slice and dice and see information. Purchasing here, if you were, we're using sample data, but it has some nice indicators in the top right that would show me how many requisitions I have open. Obviously, I haven't opened any. Did you close the webcam? I haven't. Do I need to do something about that?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Those indicators, if I had requisitions open, they would show how many requisitions I have open and what stage they're at. So just a nice view, indicator, visual of my different purchasing information. This one's nice, very easy to do as well. Top 10 vendors by current balance, so I can see who I owe the most to right now, and report on that as a visual. And inventory is another nice one in the sense that it has some indicators as to where I am from a inventory fulfillment point of view, or where shortage point of view. So right now, if I drill into this report, it shows me all of my items that it's saying that I'm short of and I need to be ordering them. So there's some numbers on that, and also the total number of items that I have right now that should be ordered that we're having stocking challenges on. So just there again, sample report from Microsoft if you want to install it. So I'm going to walk through, I'm just going to pull up a chair here. I'm going to walk through actually creating a report so you guys can see what this all consists of. So I'm just going to install, or not install, I already have it installed. Let me minimize this and open up the Power BI desktop tool. So first thing you would do is install the Power BI desktop tool if you want to go down this path. So I'm just going to open up Power BI website, and from here, if you want to say I want to get started, start free, one of the things that it's going to ask you to do is download the Power BI desktop tool. So when you say that, oops, anyways, download free, just quickly download it, install it. If if you don't have rights on your computer to do that, you might need to talk to your IT people and have them help you install it, or install it somewhere. So once you got the Power BI desktop tool, you'll sign into it. So I don't want to view recovered files, and you'll sign into the tool. And first thing you need to do is you need to get data. So we're going to link it to our SQL Server in the scenario that I'm going to show you. However, let's say you don't have access to the SQL Server. Maybe you just want to take some SmartList data that you have and take that SmartList data and create a dashboard from that. That would also be very easily done. Essentially, all I would do then is click on Excel, and I would go and find my Excel. I would take my SmartList, I'd export it to Excel, save it as a file, and then choose that file in here, and I'd be able to upload it into Power BI. The only downside with that is that would be a one-time use. It's not going to automatically refresh for you. If you want the data to refresh, you'd want to connect it directly up to your SQL Server. So I'm going to connect to SQL Server. All right, so apologize again for the inconvenience there. So I already went through and I connected to the SQL Server, and I'm in the process right now of choosing what I want to bring into my dashboard. So to set the scenario in my presentation or in my dashboard that I want to do, I want to show sales information or receivables, both receivables and sales information about my customers, and I want to just do a dashboard on what my total receivables are and how does that compare to sales overall, and then be able to slice and dice it by territories, salespeople, location, and what's the other one? Customers, obviously. So I already went through and I found customers, so I just typed in customers and I selected that. And the other piece that I want to bring in is receivables transactions. So receivables transactions will show me my receivables information. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit load. So what this load is doing is it's just loading the data into my Power BI desktop tool. Depending on what data that you're working with that you want to do, you may not want to hit load because it'll just load way too much data and potentially crash a machine. So I'm going to say, be cognizant of what you want to load and how much data you want to load into your dashboard. So in this case, if you can load it in Excel and see that all that data in Excel, you can definitely do it into this tool. So what it did here is it went through and it brought two data sets into my Power BI application. It brought in customers and it brought in receivables transactions. So those are my two pieces of data that I'm going to work with to do my dashboard. In some cases, depending on what you're bringing in, you may need to do some relationship mapping to say, how does a customer relate to receivables? The Power BI tool already went through and saw that, hey, there's a customer number already in customers and there's a customer number in receivables, and it created a map for me. It actually linked those two tables for you. So in many cases, it will do that. However, in some cases, let's say it was called customer number in one table and customer ID in the other table, you may need to go through and just do that link to say, how do I want to link those two tables? But it's done it for us in this case. So I'm just going to jump right in and I'm going to create a report. So I want to start off with, I'm just going to do a simple stacked bar report. And I want to take a look for receivables. So I'm just going to do a little bit of resizing here. All right, so I want to get my, within the receivables table, and this is where knowing your data definitely does help, but within the receivables table, there is a field called current transaction amount. So this field here, current transaction amount, this is the current transaction amount is your, oops, I'm just gonna resize this, make it bigger so we can see what it is. Current transaction amount is your receivable balance. So the first thing I want to do is I want to see what is my current transaction amount by date. So I'm just going to pull out document date as my other field that I want to take a look at. So I'm just going to grab the document date, and I'm just going to throw that in as the other field. So what this did is it broke this out year over year. What is my amount receivable by document date? Keep in mind, this is sample data. If the accountants in the house are probably thinking, well, why do I have a receivable amount for 2013 and 2014, and why 2015, 2016 there's none? This is just, it's sample data, so it's a little bit more difficult to I guess demonstrate from a data perspective. Then I want to take this information and I want to do it by salesperson, so we can see what is my my amount receivable by salesperson. So I'm just going to simply copy and paste this. So I just did a Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste this dashboard. And now instead of doing it by document date, I'm just going to get rid of that field. I'm going to grab it by salesperson. So I'm just going to grab my salesperson ID. And now I have a report that shows it by salesperson. And the other part I wanted to do, actually I'm going to change this one, give it a different look and feel, so we can see all the different salespeople in my circle here, and I can break out my report by salesperson. The other next piece I wanted to show was by sales territory, so I'm just going to copy and paste again and create another one. And I'm going to uncheck salesperson, and I'm going to do this one by territory. Sales territory. So I'm just going to move just make this a little bit bigger for you guys. So I can now report by sales territory across all of the different groups. And then the ultimate one that I really wanted to get in there was customers. So I'm just going to do this one more time, and I'm going to copy and paste, and I'm going to put a graph by customer. So I'm just going to grab, I like this this tree map one, and I want to do this one by customer. So I'm just going to uncheck salesperson and grab this by customer. Customer name. All right, so I'm just going to hide these fields now and try to make this full screen. No, that didn't do it. So what we're showing here is, if I click on this cell, I can see that Vision Inc. has the biggest balance. If I want to see for a specific salesperson, right now it just shows me portion wise on Vision Inc. So there's a function within the tool set that you can do, is you can change how the different charts interact with each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to modeling, and I'm going to go to, view, modeling. missing a button. Here we go. There you go. My apologies. So what I want to do is I want to change how these different charts interact with each other, and that's done through edit interaction. So when I turn this on, as you can see, each graph has a different little icon. So this filter, this highlight, means it's going to highlight the portion that whatever I have selected, it's going to do that portion. In this case, when I select this chart, I want it to filter so only show the salesperson and show the customer specific to that salesperson. And same thing with this one. When I select this chart, I want it to only filter, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So then it's filtering down instead of doing that highlight function. And so what that looks like now, if I click on Greg, it actually breaks it out, so I can see, you know, on a I can see the customers that Greg or each salesperson is responsible for, and I can basically lock it, or only see that portion. If you wanted to distribute these reports, and let's say I wanted to distribute these to my salespeople, but I only wanted them to only see the data that is specific to them, and they don't want to see everyone else's data. So for example, I want to give Greg access to Power BI, but I don't want him to be able to run this for the other salespeople. There's a function in here called roles, and when you set up the roles, essentially we would set up a role for him, and we would create a filter for Greg. Just due to time, I'm going to kind of skim over some of these things, but that is a really cool feature. So essentially, when you're done these reports, you hit the publish button, and what the publish is going to do is it's going to take the report that I've done, and got to save my Power BI file first. Let's call it sales demo, and I'll just save it in my. So what the publish will do is it'll take the data that is behind this. I pick which location in the tool I want to deploy it to. So I'm going to put it into my personal workspace and publish it up to the Power BI site. Once it's up at the Power BI site, I can then share it with my coworkers. So I'm just going to go ahead and open it in the Power BI website, and ta-da! So there's our report in the Power BI website. So, you know, I apologize for some of the technical issues that we ran into as doing this demo, but I just wanted to demonstrate how easy it is to take some data and create a flashy report on it. We're short on time, so I'm going to open it up to any questions right now. So if you have any questions, let's jump into that. Absolutely.
Repeat the question.
So the question is, can you connect to more than one database? And that is significantly a strong portion, strong piece of Power BI. So what I just connected to one database, but if I went back to my Power BI desktop tool, I'm just going to minimize this here. If I can go back to get data, and I can grab data from Excel spreadsheets. I can grab data from other websites. I can grab data from Google Analytics. So there, you can grab data from all sorts of places and bring them into that common data set. And if you know the links, you can join them together, you know, based on customer ID, for example, and create powerful reports that way. So yeah, that is a great part of Power BI. Any other questions? Awesome.
So it's really strong with charts, but what if you want to look at your data in more of an Excel format? Can you do that?
Yes. So the question is, it's good at charts. How do we if I want to see it as more of a pivot table or Excel-like data. Oops, I didn't. So if I just want to do that with one of my existing charts that I have here right now, I can click on one of these other visuals and basically create a table. I'm just going to go ahead and press. Oops, having some mouse clicking issues. So there's a table, or if I can go through and click on different. This one's more of a pivot type table. So yeah, absolutely. There's if you want to show the data, and you can also have these as working together with the chart. So when you select a piece of the chart, the data shows up underneath. One part I forgot to show that I think is really cool with this too is I published all of the data, including the detail of the data. So if I wanted to, I could actually go to see records and drill into the data and see what makes up that number in a detailed basis. So depending on what level, how you go about creating your reports, if you want, you can have that drill down capability right into your data.
You'd export that yourself.
Exactly. There is some links between Power BI and Excel. So if I create a bunch of reports in Power BI and I say, hey, you know what, I want to do some Excel spreadsheets. I don't want to do it in Power BI, but I want to grab the data that I've published in Power BI already. Excel has a link. You can just press on a button and say, take that into Excel and allow you to work with that data right in Excel. All right, well, thank you guys. Thank you everyone. And we'll leave it at that. And we're gonna move on and to Andrew shortly to do some what's new in GP.